Okay, Numbers chapter 7. Now it came to pass, when Moses had finished setting up the tabernacle, that he anointed it and consecrated it and all its furnishings, and the altar and all its utensils. So he anointed them and consecrated them. Then the leaders of Israel, the heads of their fathers' houses, who were the leaders of the tribes, and over those who were numbered, made an offering. And they brought their offering before Jehovah, before the Lord, 6 covered carts and 12 oxen, a cart for every 2 of the leaders, and for every one of an ox, and for each one an ox. And they presented them before the tabernacle. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Accept these from them, that they may be used in doing the work of the tabernacle of meeting. And you shall give them to the Levites, to every man according to his service. So Moses took the carts and the oxen, and gave them to the Levites. 2 carts and 4 oxen he gave to the sons of Gershon, according to their service. 4 carts and 8 oxen he gave to the sons of Merari, according to their service, under the authority of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. But to the sons of Kohath he gave none, because theirs was the service of the holy things which they carried on their shoulders. Now the leaders offered the dedication offering for the altar which was anointed. So the leaders offered their offering before the altar. We take a little pause there. You notice that the carts were not given to one particular segment of the Levites. What was their duty?
Carry it on their shoulders.
Carry it on their shoulders. Specifically, the Ark of the Covenant, the table of showbread, the altar of incense, and the burnt offering. Those things were not to be placed on carts. That's why they were not given to the sons of Kohath. So when David is bringing the altar into Jerusalem and it's on the cart and the priest puts his hand on it to stabilize it and he dies and David gets upset, you understand why all this takes place, because God's already set up very clearly that stuff's not to be put on carts. And so they should have known. It should not have been a mystery. Follow? So David, in his desire to want to do something pleasing to the Lord, his mistake was in trying to do it his own way, instead of according to the design that God had given them. And it cost a man his life. Verse 11. For Jehovah said to Moses, They shall offer their offering 1 liter each day for the dedication of the altar. And the one who offered his offering on the first day was Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, from the tribe of Judah. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Nahshon, the son of Amminadab. On the second day, Nethanel, the son of Zuar, leader of Issachar, presented an offering. For his offering he offered 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year, as a burnt offering. 1 kid of the goats, as a sin offering. And as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Nethanel, the son of Zuar. On the third day, Eliab, the son of Helon, leader of the children of Zebulun, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Eliab, the son of Elon. On the 4th day of Elisur, the son of Shedeur, leader of the children of Reuben, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour with oil as a grain offering, mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and as a sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Elisur, the son of Shedeur. On the 5th day, Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai, leader of the children of Simeon, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai. On the 6th day, Eliasaph, the son of Deuel, the leader of the children of God, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Eliasaph, the son of Deuel. On the 7th day, Elishama, the son of Ammihud, the leader of the children of Ephraim, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Elishama, the son of Ammihud. On the 8th day, Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur, leader of the children of Manasseh, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering, 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and as a sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur. On the 9th day, Abidan, the son of Gideoni, the leader of the children of Benjamin, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year, as a burnt offering. 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering. And as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Abidan, the son of Gideoni. On the 10th day, Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, leader of the children of Dan, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels full of incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering. 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering. And as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai. On the 11th day, Pagiel, the son of Ochran, leader of the children of Asher, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels full of incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering. 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering. And as a sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Pagiel, the son of Ochran. On the 12th day, Ahira, the son of Enan, leader of the children of Naphtali, presented an offering. His offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekels, and 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering. 1 gold pan of 10 shekels full of incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1 male lamb in its first year as a burnt offering. 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering. And as the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs in their first year. This was the offering of Ahira, the son of Enan. This was the dedication offering for the altar from the leaders of Israel when it was anointed. 12 silver platters, 12 silver bowls, and 12 gold pans. Each silver platter weighed 130 shekels, and each bowl 70 shekels. All the silver of the vessels weighed 2,400 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. The 12 gold pans full of incense weighed 10 shekels apiece, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. All the gold of the pans weighed 120 shekels. All the oxen for the burnt offering were 12 young bulls, the rams 12, the male lambs in their first year 12, with their grain offering, and the kids of the goats as a sin offering 12. And all the oxen for the sacrifice of peace offerings were 24 bulls, the rams 60, the male goats 60, and the lambs in their first year 60. This was the dedication offering for the altar after it was anointed. Does anybody find it interesting, the precision from the 12 tribes of the exactness of the equality of their offerings? Nobody deviated at all. So this would require what for this to take place?
Record keeper. Communication.
Well, first it would require communication, right? What else would it require? Before you get to the attention to detail, that'd be step 3. Communication will be the second step. Agreement or cooperation, right? Yeah, you'd have to have communication, then you'd have to have cooperation, then you'd have to have attention to the detail, and then you'd have to have, what's the fourth thing? Follow through or resistance against deviation. You follow? These guys are now in the process of having so much delivered to them. They're in the follow-through stage of their lives now, and they need to be resisting the temptation to deviate from the plan God's given to them. And for them to continue to cooperate and operate as one nation, so that one tribe doesn't need to start making itself seem like more than the other. The competition needs to be put to rest. It's not about who's better, who's taller, who's shorter, who's prettier, who's uglier, who's fatter, who's skinnier, who can run faster, who runs slower, who can lift more, who can lift less. All that stuff is not competition. What he's trying to help them see is He loves them all the same. He wants them all to pay attention to Him the same. It's all to be recognized that way. And these guys, in order for them to stay in that vein, need to recognize that by how they respond to Him. And how they responded was in humility. By cooperating with one another and doing exactly what the plan was for them to do. They also had to be willing to make this sacrifice, to give these things up. They're wandering nomads in a desert that have no land yet, and they have promise from God to give them a land that's supposed to be terrific. And the term flowing with milk and honey means an abundance of provision. It doesn't literally mean streams of milk going down the road or streams of honey flowing through the trees. Milk is the byproduct of their livestock, and honey would be a term for the prolification of the bees and the pollination going on. That means all the plants are going to be doing really well. Verse 89. Now when Moses went into the tabernacle of meeting to speak with him, he heard the voice of one speaking to him from above the mercy seat that was on the ark of the testimony, from between the two cherubim. Thus he spoke to him. An interesting thing to just insert into the message at this point. And you wonder about who the people were making the chapter breaks when they decided to make them. Why did they make them after this statement rather than before it? Obviously, I can't give you the answer to that question. I find it interesting. If I were doing it, I think 89 would be the first verse of chapter 8 for me.
There's a few verses like that, like the last verse, nothing to do with the previous, but sets up the next.
Yes. The point of that is, don't always count on chapter breaks or verse number breaks to be giving you enough clue as to where the idea or thought break should be. You've got to be astute enough to read and figure out if they got it right or got it wrong. Because I know of a number of places that it should have been broken differently. Because they break up the thought by breaking it where they have. Interesting thing, however, here. So Moses goes into the tabernacle of meeting to speak with who is him. Yeah, he's not going in there to speak with Aaron. He's going there to speak with Yehovah, the Lord, right? And he hears audibly the voice of God speaking to him from above the mercy seat that's on the ark of the testimony, from between the two cherubim. That's where he hears him from. So where does that mean Moses has to go? Well, he has to at least go right up to the curtain, if not behind the curtain. And as thick as that curtain was, unless God's voice is going to be booming, he's behind the curtain. That's an interesting thing, that Moses would have been called in there by the Lord to speak with him there and not put him to death. He is not of the setup of the Levitical priests, the Aaronic priests. He has a particular position that is aside from those designations that God gives particular type of favor to, so that Moses would hear the voice of God. And Moses' responsibility when he heard the voice of God was to do what with it next?
Speak to the people.
Right. Tell the people what God said. I think one of the reasons this is important that it's here is to remind us that the one we need to be listening to is God. I was having a conversation with another friend of mine recently, and one of the things that came up in the conversation was all of these writings from over the years from various people who write various things about what they think God said. By far, more important than reading any of all of that stuff is listening to God. And we have here a declaration that God records for us that Moses heard the voice of God and then tells us what God said. So when we read what we call the Bible, and certainly the various books, we need to understand that this is God speaking to us, not Moses or whomever the next writers are going to be, whether it's going to be Joshua or You follow? We need to remember that when we're listening to the voice of God, and what is it we want to hear from Him, and what are we going to do about it? Well, Moses went into this ark, or into this tabernacle, to the Ark of the Testimony, and heard the voice of God audibly. And then faithfully executed God's instructions. And it goes on to tell us some of the things he said. And Yehovah spoke, chapter 8, verse 1. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and say to him, When you arrange the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the lampstand. And Aaron did so. He arranged the lamps to face toward the front of the lampstand, as Yehovah commanded Moses. Now this workmanship of the lampstand was hammered gold. From its shaft to its flowers it was hammered work, according to the pattern which Yehovah had shown Moses. So he made the lampstand. In this little bit of a brief piece here, we get the indication that God has spoken to Moses. Moses has now spoken to Aaron, and Aaron follows the instructions of Moses. Why did he do that?
To be obedient to the Lord.
To be obedient to the Lord, not to Moses, right? That's the important thing to remember. To be obedient to the Lord is automatically to be obedient to Moses. So your first priority is not to be obedient to Moses, it's to be obedient to the Lord. And therefore, the person who is supposedly representing the Lord would be automatically honored. Now, this is one of those litmus tests that you can use in your life as you go forward. When you know what the Lord says to do and you do it, and the person is not honored by you doing it, what does that indicate? What's that, Mary? They're not somebody you should be listening to. That's right. And it's also somebody who is not walking with the Lord. Because somebody who is, when the Lord is honored, they will be honored. When the Lord is pleased, they will be pleased. That's a litmus test for you. You don't have to guess. This is why Jesus says things like, you'll know them by their fruit. This is how you know. You don't have to crawl into their heart and have the argument about you can't see the heart of a person. Yes, I can. It's spilling out of your life all over the place. So we can know. And Moses was pleased because Aaron did according to what he told him to do. But it was because Aaron recognized that's what the Lord had commanded Moses. Do you think Moses came to Aaron and said, Aaron, here's what I want you to do? What would have been the right way for Moses to deliver that instruction?
Go to Aaron and say that instructions from the Lord.
Right. Aaron, this is what the Lord wants you to do. That's exactly right. That makes the instructions now important, doesn't it? And we have recorded here that not only Aaron do what Moses had commanded him to do, but Moses did what God commanded him to do. Both of those are packed right into these few verses. God emphasizing the importance of obedience to His word. Verse 5, Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them ceremonially. Thus you shall do to them to cleanse them. Sprinkle water of purification on them, and let them shave all their body, and let them wash their clothes, and so make themselves clean. Then let them take a young bull with its grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, and you shall take another young bull as a sin offering. And you shall bring the Levites before the tabernacle of meeting, and you shall gather together the whole congregation of the children of Israel. So you shall bring the Levites before Yehovah, and the children of Israel shall lay their hands on the Levites. And Aaron shall offer the Levites before Yehovah, like a wave offering from the children of Israel, that they may perform the work of Yehovah. Then the Levites shall lay their hands on the heads of the young bulls, and you shall offer one as a sin offering, and the other as a burnt offering to Yehovah, to make atonement for the Levites. And you shall stand the Levites before Aaron and his sons, and then offer them like a wave offering before Yehovah. Thus you shall separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. After that the Levites shall go into service the tabernacle of meeting. So you shall cleanse them and offer them like a wave offering. For they are wholly given to me from among the children of Israel. I have taken them for myself, instead of all who open the womb, the firstborn of all the children of Israel. For all the firstborn among the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them to myself. Sanctified or separated them to myself. I have taken the Levites instead of all the firstborn of the children of Israel, and I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel, to do the work for the children of Israel in the tabernacle of meeting, and to make atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come near the sanctuary. Thus Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites, according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses concerning the Levites. So the children of Israel did to them. And the Levites purified themselves and washed their clothes. Then Aaron presented them like a wave offering before Jehovah, and Aaron made atonement for them to cleanse them. After that, the Levites went in to do their work in the tabernacle of meeting before Aaron and his sons, as Jehovah commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so they did to them. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, This is what pertains to the Levites. From 25 years old and above, one may enter to perform service in the work of the tabernacle of meeting. And at the age of 55 years, they must cease performing this work and shall work no more. They may minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of meeting to attend to the needs, but they themselves shall do no work. Thus you shall do to the Levites regarding their duties. And so here again we have everyone getting in line with the plan and the order of God, and they follow, and they do it. That's what creates the beginning of this whole process to be blessed by God. You understand now they're setting up all these things they've worked on now for a year, preparing, building, crafting, and making ready according to the plan of God. And now that that's all done, they've assembled it, put it together, and now they have the people to work what's going on. Because you have the persistent offerings and ceremonies that are going to be going on, that they need this group of people to continue to take care of, not just the daily operations, but then the taking down and setting up of this whole system as well, as God's going to move them out here very shortly. But now they're ready. Now you have the team built. Now you have the preparation made, and now you can execute the plan of moving all this stuff around and moving on as God moves you around. Because remember, the goal was not to stop at Mount Horeb. The goal was where? To go to the land flowing with milk and honey. And the land flowing with milk and honey is to us to represent being in the presence of God with Him for eternity, whether we want to call that heaven or ultimately back here on earth after Jesus returns and we live here with Him. Either way, it's in the presence of God for eternity, and the blessings of God to be upon us, and all the blessings that He's talked about to be ours. Chapter 9. Now Jehovah spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the first month of the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, now, we know when this is taking place, right? This is about 13 months, right, after they've come out. Because it's the first month of the second year. Saying, let the children of Israel keep the Passover at its appointed time. On the 14th day of this month at twilight you shall keep it at its appointed time. According to all its rites and ceremonies you shall keep it. So Moses told the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at twilight in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses. So the children of Israel did. Now there were certain men who were defiled by human corpse. so that they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses and Aaron that day. Now, when you read that sentence, what do you learn?
They had not been kicked out of the camp, or at least taken out of the camp.
Also the requirements of how to be holy and not defiled for the ceremony were communicated to everybody. Also, they may not have known. Also, they had to have personal effort to not just try and hide that. They chose to go and say, yep, something happened, and we're defiled, and we need to figure out what to do. We want to take part. We're not allowed to instead of just saying, just don't tell anybody. We'll be fine. No big deal.
Sydney, when you look at chapter 9, verse 6, and read it, what do you learn? Read it out loud.
Now they were certain that they were defiled by a human cord, so that they could not keep the Passover on the day. They came before Moses and Aaron that day.
What'd you learn?
That they couldn't go.
Right, that they couldn't go. They couldn't participate in the Passover, right? When you read, there are stages of things that take place. First thing happens is you're introduced to the information. That's the first thing that happens. Second thing that happens is, as you become more familiar with the information. So if you read it a second time, you'll be more familiar with what it says. As you keep being exposed to it, you come to own the information. These are progressions of learning, okay? At this stage, all you can do is regurgitate the literal information in the text. The next stage, however, as you develop and mature, is to be able to analyze the information. The next step is to synthesize. The information. And the last bit is to judge or decide. Okay? That's the last bit. Now, this piece here can take place up there on the simple information. We read there were certain men that were defiled by a corpse and couldn't participate in the Passover. So they went to Moses. On the surface, what do we learn is exactly what it says. There were certain men that were defiled and they couldn't participate in the second Passover. Now when you analyze the information, what else do you learn?
They did not remove themselves from the camp.
They were cleansed after defiling the altar.
So you have men who wanted to participate but knew they couldn't. That's one thing that you learn. What else do you learn? How about you, Howie? What do you learn? If you take a look at the information, what else do you learn? Got an answer? You're not sure?
No. All the answers that I could have thought of has been taken.
Have already been taken. Okay? Anybody got another one? A new one?
People were dying.
Yeah! How about the most obvious one? There's people dying. In order to be defiled by a corpse, guess what you had to have? Death. So here you have these people in the presence of God, all the blessings of God, doing exactly what God talks about, and people are still dying.
And then
Not necessarily true. The reason some people are still dying is because of the sin of Adam. That will not be finally undone until Jesus comes back a second time. And until then, people are still going to be dying. We are going to go through the process of growing and then declining unto death in our flesh. It's going to happen. People are still dying. And so death in and of itself in the flesh should not be something that should cause us panic to think God's abandoned us. Here this is taking place at a time when I'm not sure these people could have been any closer to God. And death is still taking place. So you analyze it and say, death is still taking place. So the synthesis of that information means that you take that information and you say, that means that death in the flesh is not an indication that there's disobedience or sin or anything else extra going on, but it's a carryover from the sin of Adam. Because when we just read the various passages we read, how much disobedience did we read about? Zero. Everybody's full attention was on the Lord at this point. And so physical death is not just a consequence of somebody has done something wrong. It's what we've inherited from Adam. And when we read the New Testament, we learn this. That's one of the things he says. We have to put off this tent that's corrupted by the sin of Adam in order to put on the new body that God's going to give to us. So this is the process that takes place. It's kind of like this. Your dad comes in and says, Howie, clean up your room. Now, if this is the first time he said it to you, you've just been introduced that he wants you to clean up your room and he wants you to do it now. Right? Tomorrow he comes in and says, Howie, clean up your room. Third day he comes in and says, Howie, clean up your room. You're getting to be familiar with this chant from your dad, aren't you? Yep. 10, 12 days goes by. Every day he comes in and says, Howie, clean up your room. And he makes you clean up your room. What is it that takes place then after a period of time?
After a period of time, you should know what to be expected.
That's analysis.
If every day your dad comes in and says, clean your room, then every single day, even when there's something like a couple things for work, then you have to expect that you just do it without the asking.
So that's the analysis part. You realize that, hey, Dad wants the room cleaned. The synthesis part is, what does this mean?
Every day you should do it.
I should do it every day. I should clean my room every day. That's exactly right. Now your judgment is to do what?
Decide if you're going to work.
And then you make your decision, and that's the final stage. I'm going to comply or I'm going to not comply. You see, that's the stage of processing information. We need to try to do the same thing as we're listening to the Lord, as we're reading His Word, so that we can make those decisions. When you first start reading His Word, this is about all you have, because that's all you're capable of in the beginning. But here's the clue, here's the key. Unless you get through these stages, you're not going to get to the next ones. If you don't get through introduction, familiarity, and ownership, you're not going to get to the next ones. You can't circumvent or skip the process. You're not hardwired like a computer where we can data exchange technologically. It doesn't work that way. This is why God says faith comes from hearing His Word. You've got to hear it, hear Him, become familiar with Him, before you can really process and do. How did these guys know to bring this offering that we had just read of the plates and the silver bowls and the gold bowls and the fine flour and the incense and the animals and the burnt offerings and sin offerings and all that stuff? How'd they know that?
Because they've already been told to do it in several different times, so they know what to do by now.
Yeah, they've been instructed repetitiously, and so now they should know what to do. Now they're expected to follow. They're expected to pay attention. So in the early stages, when you first come in and teach somebody something, you're not expecting them to own the information and to be able to follow on their own. But after a period of time of teaching them, that's why the expectation builds, is because that's what's supposed to take place. And the only reason it doesn't is one of two things. The person is incapable of learning, which is incredibly rarely the case. The second reason is usually because people are disinterested in what you're teaching them. That becomes, unfortunately, the most common reason why people fail to learn. And here we're learning that these people didn't fail to learn. Hey, we're defiled by a corpse. So we learned there are people dying. There are people who are concerned about the fact that they're defiled, but they also are concerned that they want to participate in the Passover. And so what do they do about it? Do they say, we're going to make it up and we're going to figure out how to do this on our own? Is that what they do?
No,
Kinda.
Well, actually, no. What they did was, and they came before Moses and Aaron. They came and asked, what should we do? Why would they go to Moses and Aaron?
because they wanted instruction on how to, they wanted to see if there's anything they could do to fix the problem, and they wanted to take ownership for the problem.
So they wanted to take ownership for the problem and then find out if there was a solution. Why not go ask their buddy?
Because his buddy's not Moses and Aaron.
And what was special about Moses and Aaron?
God gave them authority over everybody.
Not just authority, but what did the people know was taking place through Moses and Aaron to the people?
God's word.
God's word was being delivered through Moses and Aaron. So if you wanted to hear what God's solution was, you knew to go where? Moses and Aaron. Today,
I assume that where it says that they came before Moses and Aaron, that wouldn't have been their first step. Was just a group of men went out and talked to Moses and Aaron. They would have gone to their elders first, right? To their judges, and the judges would have had this matter brought before them and gone, we are not sure, and then passed that on up the chain.
Of course.
They would have gotten to Moses and Aaron.
Of course. But they would have known that the setup was in the sequence that Moses and Aaron is the place to find out what the Lord said. And since none of those other men below them knew what the Lord would say to do to solve this matter, guess what they all figured out that they needed to do? Go up to Moses and Aaron until they can hear from the Lord as to what the solution is. And so this is an important practical application for us. We should not be resistant to practicing the same thing. For us, the number one place for us to hear from the Lord is from His Word. And even if we do go to someone, say you come to me and ask me a question, my solution for you is to come from the Word of the Lord. I'm going to show you where to find it. I'm going to show you how to hear from Him. Because in the same way, this is how Moses and Aaron delivered their solutions. The Lord has said thus and so. You follow? In the same way, if you come and ask me, I'm going to tell you, well, what does the Lord require of you? Do you know? No, I don't know. Okay, well, let's help you know what the Lord requires of you. Because if your goal is to hear from me, you have the wrong goal. Your goal needs to be hearing from the Lord as to what He has designed for your life so you can be pleasing to Him. And if you're pleasing to Him, I'm going to be pleased. If you're blessing Him, I'm going to be blessed. And you're going to be pleased and you're going to be blessed. So that's what these men do. Verse 7, and those men said to him, we became defiled by a human corpse. Why are we kept from presenting the offering of Yehovah at its appointed time among the children of Israel? Now, what did that sentence just help you learn?
That they want to know why God decided this guy was going to die, like right next to them. Right? They were just walking on the street, This guy passes by, you just walk by that.
So, not just why are there people dying, because that's not their question. Their question is, why are we what?
Why can't we give our offering?
Why what?
We can't give our offering.
Why are we kept from participating? Not our fault these people died. Look, if God's in charge of all this, He's the one that made them die. Why are we defiled because of something He had made happen? You follow? The other is, kept from. Do you think God is down there in person stopping them, holding their hands back and not letting them participate?
No.
So what would be the instrument that God is using to keep the men from participating?
Other men.
Yeah, other men in the congregation. That's exactly correct. That's exactly right. Saying, hey, Bob, you're defiled, man. You can't be doing this. Get back out of there. You're not supposed to be here. You follow? And Moses said to them, stand still that I may hear what Yehovah will command concerning you. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, where did Moses go to hear this? Into the tabernacle, that's right. And where did he go to hear it? What part of the tabernacle? Where was he standing? In front of the Ark of the Covenant, because that's where God speaks to him. You see why I think that last verse in chapter 7 should be connected here? Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, if any one of you or your posterity, that means your offspring, your kids, is unclean because of a corpse, or is far away from a journey, or far away on a journey, he may still keep Yehovah's Passover. On the 14th day of the second month at twilight, they may keep it. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until morning, nor break one of its bones. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man who is clean and is not on a journey and ceases to keep the Passover, that same person shall be finger-wagged until they are salivating. That person shall be cut off from among his people, because he did not bring the offering of Yehovah at its appointed time. That man shall bear his sin. That means destroyed. So was it a big deal to God if somebody was able to celebrate the Passover that they chose not to do it? God says, kill him. That's how seriously he took it. So it was pretty important to him.
They waited a month.
So they waited exactly 1 month and would have repeated the entire cycle. So on the 10th, they would have chosen their animal. They would have inspected the animal from the 10th to the twilight of the 14th. From the twilight of the 14th, they would have slaughtered the animal, prepared to go on a journey in their robes and their sandals and having their staff, and they would have cooked the entire lamb, and they would have eaten it with bitter herbs. Today's modern Passover, if you've ever been exposed to that by the current Jewish culture, is not this Passover. They've added many things to it. This Passover had a lamb and bitter herbs. That's what it had. All of the things that have been added to it have been added since this time period. And they've been added for Jewish cultural reasons.
Says what they had was lamb, bitter, what about the bread?
Well, there's no bread mentioned here, right? So the bread that comes into the Passover comes later.
I thought you did, it just said something about, bread.
Were you reading along with me, or do you just think you remembered me saying something about bread?
I was reading along.
So do you remember where you thought you saw it said something about bread?
I thought I saw it.
You don't remember, though? They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs on verse 11, huh? You got it. You're right. So a lamb, unleavened bread, and bitter herbs. That's correct. Verse 15. Now, on the day that the tabernacle was raised up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, the tent of the testimony. From evening until morning, it was above the tabernacle like the appearance of fire. So it was always. The cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. Whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle, after that the children of Israel would journey. And in the place where the cloud settled, there the children of Israel would pitch their tents. At the command of Yehovah, the children of Israel would journey, and at the command of Yehovah, they would camp. As long as the cloud stayed above the tabernacle, they remained encamped. Even when the cloud continued long, many days above the tabernacle, the children of Israel kept the charge of Yehovah and did not journey. So it was, when the cloud was above the tabernacle a few days, according to the command of Yehovah, they would remain encamped, and according to the command of Yehovah, they would journey. So it was, when the cloud remained only from evening until morning, when the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they would journey, whether by day or by night. Whenever the cloud was taken up, they would journey. Whether it was 2 days, a month, or a year that the cloud remained above the tabernacle, the children of Israel would remain encamped and not journey. But when it was taken up, they would journey. At the command of Yehovah, they remained encamped, and at the command of Yehovah, they journeyed. They kept the charge of the Lord at the command of Yehovah by the hand of Moses. Have any idea why you think God had to repeat that many times in such a short stand?
So there would be no excuse.
Well, there certainly is no excuse, that's for sure. Certainly is no excuse.
Make sure they understand it, so that way if you say it once and somebody was just like running up there to get there, they didn't quite hear it, you said it again, repeat it, make sure that everybody heard it.
Yeah. A lot of people needed to hear the message. A lot of people needed to be sure. God needed to record for us that that's what they did, so that we would know at that time that they in fact did these things. I think one of the reasons He records for us the obedience of the people is so that when He shows us the disobedience of the people that shipwrecks their faith and their standing with Him, we wouldn't say these people were always ignoring God. They never listened to Him. They never followed Him. But see, here I am following Him now, so that makes me different. That makes it so that I don't have to potentially experience the consequence. I think He shows it to us so that we will also understand that the people were in fact following Him for a time before they abandoned following Him, before their trust in Him was lost, or before the test became too big and they were unwilling to follow Him, because the persecution was too heavy, or the lust of their flesh was too tempting. And here we have, a magnificent display of what God was doing, with a pillar of cloud by day over the tabernacle and a pillar of fire by night. I mean, what a spectacular thing. What if you lived at this time and at the tent in the midst of your camp, you had such a thing? Would that be impressive? I think that would be incredibly impressive. But after what period of time would it be less impressive?
When a year, you might get kind of tired.
It might just be routine. Well, of course. That's
cloud now, maybe God does want us to go somewhere.
Yeah. How many of you are incredibly impressed when the sun shows itself to you in the morning?
Cool,
but it happens every day, right? I mean, do you have any idea of the power, the magnitude of the power of the sun?
We'd all be dead.
Well, yeah, but also with the sun, we could still all be dead if it had an eruption that wasn't friendly to us. Or if the filters that surround the earth were suddenly diluted for some reason and the current gamma rays that were coming at us weren't shielded from harming us. I mean, there's all sorts of things that go on. But why do we not go, wow, there's the sun every day? Because after a short period of time, it happens. It's expected to be there. And so the same thing happens to these folks with the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. As magnificent as that sounds to us and as amazing as it might be, it became to them like the sun is to us.
Thank you for joining us today on our YouTube channel, XL for Christ. We hope you like and even subscribe to our YouTube channel for ongoing edification that you can gain from listening to the messages and hopefully diving further into the Word of God to find out His truth. We also like you to visit our website at xlforchrist.org. This website talks about the discipleship process that we engage in with folks to help them grow in Christ. We hope you will join us in our endeavor to make disciples for the glory of God.